Sally faces an adventure game with psychological horror and mystery fiction elements created by Steve Gabry, aka Portable Moose. The game follows Sal Fisher, otherwise known as Sally Face, a boy with a prosthetic face who investigates local murders with his friends. The game consists of 5 episodes that were released between 2016 and 2019. Sally Face is a point-and-click adventure game that includes narrative, exploration, and puzzle solving, combined with the direct control of the player via side-scrolling. Players are encouraged to talk to game characters and explore the environments to uncover hidden parts of the story, and can return to environments in later timelines to see how things have changed. At the beginning of Chapter 1, Sally wakes up in a sterile hospital room, his face wrapped in bandages. The phone nearby is ringing, and when Sal picks up, a voice tells him that he needs to find him. Confused, Sal puts down the phone and goes to grab the key from under the cabinet. Entering the next room, the atmosphere quickly turns eerie. Several doors are shown where Sal has to walk through the specific ones to spell out the word dog. He encounters a dog called Dr. Enon, who cryptically tells him that he is not alone. The surreal and unsettling nature of this introduction hints at the psychological horror elements that will define the game. At the end of the dreamlike sequence, Sal finds his mother and then suddenly wakes up. Sal wakes up in reality, revealing he and his father had moved to the Addison Apartments building in the town of Knockfell. The day before their arrival, one of the other residents, Mrs. Sanderson, is murdered. Sal explores and meets the other tenants, including Larry Johnson, who reveals he witnessed the murder. Larry explains that he was fixing the toilet when he heard shouting and then the brutal passing of Mrs. Sanderson. He explains how the figure resembles another tenant by the name Charlie in floor 204. Determined to find evidence that it was Charlie's doing, Sally asks for tea from Mr. Addison and puts sleeping pills in them for Charlie to drink. He falls asleep and Sally's able to take one of his beloved glitter ponies and show it to the detective as evidence. Sally heads on outside where he will see Charlie in a police car and will be able to look into the ambulance where Mrs. Sanderson lies, depicting a very gruesome scene. The chapter ends off with Sally talking with the therapist, explaining all of the stories that had been happening in Addison Apartments. It is revealed that Sally is being held on trial and is currently explaining the events to a therapist. Honorable mention is the soundtrack for this game. It sounds absolutely amazing, and I recommend you check it out. Chapter 2 begins right after the unsettling events of Episode 1. Sal Fisher, or Sally Face, is still trying to settle into Addison Apartments, but this place is far from normal, and Sal is about to uncover just how deep its darkness runs. In a dream, a young Sal Fisher is having a picnic with his mother. Hearing a dog barking, he begs her to let him pet it, as she eventually relents. Sal walks ahead toward the trees, and one of the dog-shaped silhouettes stalking him nearby. The dream suddenly takes a dark turn when the scene changes to reveal Sal with a bloody face surrounded by a crumbling city. After crawling into a bloody ambulance, the scene shifts again to a now teenage Sal helping Mrs. Sanderson with her toilet in Larry's place. After being devoured by the toilet and deposited into the sewers, Sal encounters a severely dehydrated pony begging for water. When Sal restores the flow of water and returns, the pony is dead, but its bloated corpse serves as a makeshift bridge. He enters a door leading back to Sanderson's bathroom where he witnesses Charlie murder her. After exiting the room, he walks down a long hallway leading to a black void where Charlie is seated in his chair. He reprimands Sal for touching his pony, and his face unzips to reveal a skeleton with red burning eyes. The disturbing sight is enough to jolt Sal awake. When Sal tells Larry about his dream, Larry decides to show Sal his treehouse. Larry confides in Sal, telling him about his father's disappearance and his supposed curse that he believes was placed upon him by a shadowy demon with red eyes. Sally tells Larry that he has too noticed the demon with the red eyes around the apartments and agrees to help him break the curse. Sal gets the idea that Megan, the ghost girl he had encountered previously, could help Larry, and together they go to room 504's bathroom. However, this attempt to summon her is unsuccessful. Larry suggests that they talk to Todd, another resident who is also interested in the paranormal, to help. Todd needs some items such as an antenna and batteries from Larry's walkie-talkie in order to make a super Gear Boy that is able to detect and interact with ghosts around the apartments. Finding the ghost of Megan that Sally was looking for. From her, they learn that Greg and her mother knew each other, that her father has been terrorizing the other ghosts, and that her father and Larry's dads were friends. Again, their conversation is cut short when the shadowy entity, who Megan states is her father, approaches. Sal suggests they talk to Stacy, hoping she could shed some light on the shadowy demon. However, her bedroom is boarded up, requiring the use of Lisa's crowbar, which is currently in the possession of David. Sal goes to the third floor and is able to successfully retrieve the tool from David. Opening the bedroom door, Sal summons Stacy's ghost. She says nothing before disappearing. Venturing further into the room, he discovers a hole in the wall. Crawling through it and finding it leads to another room. With the Super Gear Boy, Sal summons the hanging ghost of Luke Holmes. His ghostly skin peels away to reveal the red-eyed demon. The entity tries to attack Sal, but is stopped by Larry using a device Todd created. Realizing the demon's existence means his father's disappearance wasn't the result of a curse, Larry begins to cry as Sal confronts him. In the present, Sal's final session with Dr. Enon is nearing its end. Enon expresses disappointment in Sal and dismisses his story. Sal insists he is telling the truth and urges Enon to visit the treehouse before being taken away by the guards. Convinced, Enon makes his way to a now empty Addison apartment and up to the treehouse. Larry appears before him and implores him to get Sal out of jail. The sight mortifies Enon, causing him to fall from the treehouse to his demise. Episode 3, The Baloney Incident, is the third episode in the game. This, to be honest, is my favorite episode in the game. On the day of his trial, Sal speaks with journalist Claire Nettles. After asking a series of questions, Nettles eventually brings up Sal's alleged fear of baloney. Sal assures that he isn't afraid of the lunch meat, but his avoidance of it is because of a long story that he reluctantly begins to tell. In a dream sequence, one of Sal's drawings, a stick figure, comes to life. The doodle embarks on a journey to enlightenment, along the way meeting several unpleasant individuals, all making a comment on his round head. The stick figure asks the oracle how he could get to the Great Hole. She answers him with another question: "What is the truth worth to you?" To which he responds, "Everything." The drawing is then faced with a massive abyss, depicted as a tear in notebook paper. The dream ends as he stares into the abyss and his soul is seemingly destroyed. A teenage Sal then awakens to the sound of Mrs. Packerton, his math teacher, calling his name. Sal apologizes and the class ends soon after. While Sal and Ashley meet in the hall, Travis Phelps, a bully who also attends that class, approaches them. The confrontation ends with Travis punching Sal in the face, causing him to bleed. While Ashley and Larry want to get revenge, Sal convinces them to drop the situation. The trio then jokingly surmise that Travis is angry because the date for Bologna Day had been changed, which happens to be the following day. When a particularly foul-smelling batch of bologna is served during lunch the next day, the teens decide to investigate. Sal and Larry attempt to ask Kim Yazzie, the lunch lady, about the lunch meat's source, but she dismisses them. Only after Sal offers her a photograph of a bird does she become more welcoming. She tells Sal that bologna is sourced from Mrs. Packerton and gladly gives him more bologna. While Todd cannot find any harmful ingredients in the bologna, the group decides to investigate Mrs. Packerton's apartment. That evening, Sal and Larry manage to successfully break into the teacher's apartment. It does not take long for them to find evidence of sinister activities. They converse with the ghost of a goat that was slaughtered by Packerton in her own kitchen and find her presumed to be dead husband alive, confined to his bed and connected to a life support machine. Mr. Packerton's half-dead spirit begs Sal to pull the plug, to which he reluctantly obliges. If Sal refuses, Larry will be the one pulling the plug. Immediately after, the boys hear the sound of the door opening and, believing it to be Mrs. Packerton, take refuge behind a dresser. However, the boys are relieved to find it had simply been Ashley. Using a set of keys that Larry had found while hiding, the trio enters the final bedroom. There they make a disturbing discovery, a freezer full of deboned corpses, meaning Mrs. Packerton had been butchering people and making them into bologna. Flash forwarding back to the present, Nettles is perplexed why Sal refuses to tell the rest of the story. When Sal responds that they just edit the story, Nettles gives her word she'll air it in its entirety. In an attempt to change the subject, Sal asks Nettles about Todd's condition. The journalist makes a deal with Sal, saying she'll tell him about Todd if he tells her his story. Sal reluctantly agrees. As the group were about to leave, Ashley discovers a trash chute hidden behind the painting and accidentally falls down into it. Panicked, Sal, Larry, and Todd head down to the basement. While exploring an abandoned apartment, the group discover a hidden entrance leading below the basement. They find that a temple belonging to the cult is located directly beneath the apartment complex. After traversing the structure, they eventually find Ashley and rescue her. Once out of the temple, the group discusses what they should do about Mrs. Packerton, but decide to sleep on it. The teens then make a pact not to reveal what they found. Back in the present, Nettles inquires about the decision regarding the teacher, to which Sal responds they didn't have to do anything since she was killed in a car accident. The journalist hands Sal a newspaper, revealing that Ashley will be testifying against him in his trial. Sal then asks about Todd, and Nettles states that he is still in the hospital. Todd is shown wearing a straitjacket in a padded room. His red eyes reveal he is possessed by the red-eyed demon. Episode 4, The Trial, is the fourth episode of Sally Face. The episode begins showing the outside of the Addison apartment with an older Sal Fisher standing in the main doorway playing his guitar. As the camera zooms in, the screen flashes red, showing hands covered in blood. The hallway of the apartment is also covered in blood splatters as Sal continues playing the guitar. Soon, police sirens and car tires are heard, and soon flashing red and blue lights appear behind Sal. The screen cuts to alarm clock blaring, showing the time 3:33 a.m. before switching to a teenage Sal waking up, telling the alarm that he is awake. As he walks to the left of the screen, the pitch of the alarm distorts. The room also showcases items from the previous episode before Sal exits. He enters a pitch black room where the style has changed to a minimalistic white outline. Walking to the right, he encounters a goat-headed creature named Beelzebub, which Sal assumes is the devil until the creature iterates that it was a nickname given by their family. To proceed forward to the door behind Beelzebub, Sal must admire the creature's art. After seeing all four, Sal returns to Beelzebub and repeats back the artworks and their sins. He asks if he may continue through the door, to which Beelzebub warns that once he goes through, he cannot come back. He disappears, and then Sal can walk through the final door. Going through the door leads to a similar area, however, there are stars in the background. As Sal continues walking to the right, he comes across a TV which will create static across the entire screen. It then cuts to a room with another TV set up with VCR players. One tape is already in there, and pressing play will show a video of a girl in distress. Once the tape finishes, pressing the exit button will lead to a cutscene, ending the prologue. It's been 5 years. Sal has graduated from high school and lives in his house with Todd and his boyfriend Neil. Sal wakes up in his room and goes to the left, looks at the table, and discovers that his phone is missing. Sal, having reached the basement, will see Gizmo watching TV. Easter eggs for YouTubers are pasted on the wall after leaving the basement. Sal will go to the background to the shed. As it turns out, the shed needs a code. As Sal said, Todd changed the code at night. He needs to return to the house and go left to the stairs, going up to the second floor. Sal is talking to Neil and asks about finding the phone. He will give it to Sal, explaining that he found it on the porch during the rain. Sal asks Neil about work, and he ran to work as fast as he could because he had the day shift. Then Sal would go further to the right and take the note. It contains the code for the shed. After that, Sal will go to the basement, to the shed. In the rightmost part, on the workbench, there is a videotape in the shed. Friends have been investigating for 5 years about all the devilry that we saw in previous episodes. After that, Sal will go to his room to put the phone on charge, after which several messages from Larry arrived on the phone. Sal's trial has begun. We will learn that Sally initially lied in his testimony when he claimed that he and Larry stopped communicating after graduation. According to him, he was in a state of shock at that moment and was afraid that the truth would only make his situation worse. But at the trial, he would tell the whole truth that he knows. The judge told Sal to continue testifying and told him you will have to answer to the prosecutor's questions anyway, but Sal replied that he would answer everything. Just by the time Larry knocked on the door, Sal began a dialogue with him. Larry claims that something is wrong in the apartment. All the ghosts disappeared from the building almost a month ago. Larry says that he has some kind of bad feeling about this, and the guys decide to visit the building and check everything again. After that, the guys start exploring the apartments and the treehouse, talking along the way with residents. At the end of the search, they decided to go down to the Temple of the Cultists, which is located under the apartment. Having found nothing, the guys decided to leave the apartment while talking about plans for the future. After a while, Ashley arrived on her motorcycle. Sal immediately meets her at home, they hug, and after that, they decide to go to the lake. Ashley thinks that Sal is behaving strangely. Sal says that he feels uneasy and that he just wants to scream at the sky until it falls. After these words, he and Ashley shout to the sky and she takes him home. After the date with Ashley, Sal meets Todd. Sal raises the topic that something is wrong in the apartment. In the evening, they wanted to gather there as a whole team. After a while, Larry writes to Sal. Sal calls Larry, but he doesn't pick up the phone. He runs to the apartment. Sally goes to the basement, but he doesn't find anyone. After which, he runs to the treehouse and finds a suicide note from Larry there. After that, we switch back to the trial, where Ashley testifies and tells us that meeting with Sal that day, she claims that, although she didn't pay much attention at first, Sal seemed strange to her at the lake, and she decided that he was just a little sad. She thought that Sal had stopped taking his pills, and that was the whole reason. About an hour after the meeting at the lake, Sal called her. According to Ashley, he was terrified, and it was clear from his voice that Sal was crying. He told her that Larry was dead, and Ashley asked him to call the police, but Sal refused. Ashley didn't do it either because she remembered friends' stories about the police conspiracy from school. So she went to the Addison apartment herself, where she met Sally. He was also at the treehouse, walking in circles and talking to himself. Ash tried to calm Sally down, and Sally said that Larry was in the cabin. However, when Ashley went up there, she found neither Larry nor anything strange except an empty bottle of alcohol. She assumed that Sally was drunk or just going crazy, so she tried to reason with him and persuade him to go to the apartment, but he refused. Ash left because she couldn't talk to him in this state and didn't want to make things worse by telling Henry and Lee said that Sal wasn't okay so they could look after him. From Ash's story, it can be assumed that the girl blames herself for leaving and not staying with Sal as terrible events occurred after her departure. After Ash, Todd arrives at the apartment as he began to worry about Sal. Sal told him that Larry had committed suicide and according to Sal, it took them a while to recover. When they got into the cabin, they didn't find the body, and when Todd asks where he is, Sal replies that he's not sure. Larry is trying to tell them something, but they can't get in touch. Todd gives Sal a guitar that he has perfected and asks him to try playing it. When Sal plays 12 notes on the guitar, he disappears and finds himself in a black room. There he is greeted by the ghost of Allison Rosenberg, who says that the light of his guitar carries the magic of another world and mentions a certain prophecy that will nevertheless turn out to be true. She says that Sal must use his power of the guitar to stop the cult. Sal needs to destroy the magical barriers in order to get to its source and put an end to everything. She also says that Sal needs help from the spirit world to see things that a living person cannot, and since Rose herself must stay here, she helps them communicate Larry, temporarily freeing the latter from his imprisonment in the treehouse, thereby allowing him to move freely around the apartment. Sal finds himself on the roof of the apartment where Larry also appears. Sal shouts at him, asking why he left him alone, to which Larry apologizes and said that now we need to hurry up and stop the cult as time is running out. Sal says he can't believe what's happening and that Larry is gone. After that, on the other side, Rosenberg gives Larry a dead stone. Squeezing it, you can release the power sleeping in it, and with it, Larry helps Sal deal with barriers and open locked rooms of the apartment. With the help of a guitar, Sal destroys the barriers and descends down the building. After reaching the first floor and destroying all the pillars, Sal encounters the real form of Addison, who turned out to be a true monster. Presumably the cult did this to him a long time ago. We found out because of this monster, everyone in the apartment has been infected with filth. The monster called himself the Endless One and says that he is the one who is able to transcend death. Sal tries to appeal to Terrence, hoping that he's still alive somewhere inside this monster, but to no avail, since Terrence as such is no more. Sal undertakes to stop Terrence's true form and eventually defeats him with the help of guitar power and necrolights. After winning, Sal finds himself in a white room where he is greeted by the ghost of Addison, who looked young. He tells Sal that he has been waiting for him and that he knew from the first meeting that Sal was the one who was destined to win. He apologizes for hurting many people and claims that he was not himself. When Sal asks if everything is over, he replies that the last, most disgusting task remains. Sal replies that he is ready to fulfill it, whatever it may be, as long as everything is finally over. Terrence replies that Sal needs to kill everyone in the apartment, as they've all been tainted by darkness and their souls have been destroyed. Terrence disappears, saying he believes Sal will make the right decision, and leaves him with a knife. When Sal picks it up, a ghost appears who says that Sal will have to do this and that he is sorry. Sal kills everyone in the apartment, including his parents. After all this nightmare, he meets Todd on the ground floor at the entrance. He looks sick, his eyes already burning red, and Todd has a huge scar on his body. Todd says that he lost all consciousness in the treehouse and then woke up in the temple under the house. Todd said that the cult performed some kind of ritual on him. Ash said at the trial that she believes Sal is guilty of mass murder not because he was aware of his actions, but because he is ill and needs medical attention. After that, a fake Dr. Enon was interviewed at the trial, who stated that Sal was completely sane and aware of his actions at the time of the crime, and that he had invented a story to make himself look like a hero and avoid punishment. After that, the court finds Sal guilty and sentences him to death. Ash disagrees with this decision, convinced that Sal is sick and he just needs help, and she tries to prevent Sal's death by all possible means, but nothing comes of it. 3 years after the trial, Ash makes a visit to the treehouse where she is able to summon the ghost of Larry by playing his favorite song. She takes pictures of Larry, after which he immediately disappears from a bright flash. She succeeds, and Larry is shown in the picture, and with his discovery, Ash rushes to the building where Sal is being prepared to be executed. Despite her best efforts, Ash was late, and Sal had already been put in the electric chair. Sal was executed right in front of her eyes, and Ash could not hold back her tears. Episode 5, Memories and Dreams, is the 5th and final episode of Sally Face. The episode begins with Ashley coming to the cemetery to visit the graves and Sal's grave at the same time. Ashley apologizes to Sal for not visiting him for a couple of nights. On the second floor, Ashley and Neil say that 5 months have passed since Todd escaped the hospital. Neil replied that he thinks Todd is under the charge of the cultists. During the dialogue, Neil has an army friend who has a pack of C4. He took dynamite from him. They decided to blow up the church at night in order to end the cult once and forever. Later, Ashley notices that Neil is not at home. She takes dynamite from her backpack, going to the basement, notices that Maple is not there either. After she hears a loud sound of the front door, going to the front door, she noticed a note. It's that they were abducted by a cult, and Ashley was told to act quickly and suggested a clean way there. After Ash went to the temple, Ashley successfully planted explosives in the temple without being caught by the cultists, found Neil and Maple in the dungeon. Travis noticed them and ordered Ash to leave here. Ashley apologizes for not being able to blow up the temple when lightning struck. Sal, after death, gets into the void, where he hears the voices of light and darkness. Not listening to them, Sal goes to the left, to the House of Emptiness. After Sal communicates with the vestige of Jim Johnson, Jim tells Sal that he also lost a lot on the day of the mass murder in the Addison apartments. Jim told Sal that he is the key to the destruction of the cult. When Sal died, his soul was shattered, giving an extraordinary ability to penetrate into parallel worlds. Jim is going to send Sal back to his world in order to resurrect him, but he will also be helped by devices, the Pyramids of Enzima, which are hidden in 3 worlds. Jim opens the door to Sal with the corridor. Sal goes to the second door in the room, goes to the light, and ends up in the first universe. At night, lightning struck and Sal began to acquire a skeleton. Ashley, frightened, comes to the cemetery and sees Sal's skeleton. Ashley begins to activate the pyramids and Sal began to develop muscles. Ashley continues activating the pyramids. After that, Sal started to get an electric shock. Ashley realized what was written in Todd's note. Ash took out a knife and fidgeted with the vein on her wrist. She had died for a while. Thunder struck her as she fell. Soon after, she stood up and saw her left hand covered in power, and she could also hear Sal's voice in her head. Ashley went to the church to defeat the cult. Entering the center, Ashley learned that Neil and Maple were killed along with 2 other cult members, while Todd was offered as a vessel for the revival of the Red Eyes. She fought against the cultists and Dogma himself. In this battle, Kenneth lost, he was stabbed by his own son, and they both fell into the abyss to meet their deaths. For Sal, he is almost overtaken by the shadows, but he is met by an aged Larry. He said that after the house burnt down, Larry got into the void where there was something strange, some kind of tree with cosmic roots, and that around it were different creatures. They called it the Mother of Existence. Sal asks Larry for forgiveness for killing his mother, but Larry forgave him because the souls would have been destroyed. Larry also noticed that there is a second death, when souls dissolve in the void and turn into nothing. Larry said that he can pull Todd out. Larry gives Sal's lost guitar in the void. Larry will take on Todd himself. Sal will kill the shadows that try to seep into their world. After the victory, the friends revived Todd. They talked about the future and Larry disappeared. The moment of victory was short-lived among the old friends, as Larry then disappeared without a trace. Sal and Ashley never stopped trying to find him, but they were never able to find any trace of Larry. In the following days, Todd worked to contain the influence of the red-eyed demon and use his powers uncontrollably, while his friends continued their efforts to eliminate the reigning pockets of darkness and find their missing friend.